Welcome back to another episode of Godwin Insights. We're back again with
Josiah
and with
Micaiah.
And glad that Micaiah's back with us. We were very long last time that we were on. In fact, we missed last week. Had some sickness in the house, and I'm not even quite over it. But we'd like to introduce something to help keep the time shorter. Show them the talk timer. So we've got the talk timer, and Micaiah is going to man that for us. So whenever we're going to go to 15 minutes, and once it chimes, we'll close it out. And that way we don't have these ridiculous long videos like we did before. So go ahead and make sure that's on the 15 for us. Okay. And we'll go ahead and start. We were dealing with what it is to be made in the image of God. And we talked about characteristics that were automatic to being a human being, that a person had nothing to do with, that made them to be created in the image of God. But this time, I want to look at some other characteristics that make us to be in the image of God, and they kind of follow the characteristics of God. And because I'm not really feeling completely up to my full strength, and I think that Josiah is, I believe that he's ready for this, or at least I want to see how he feels about doing it. I want to kind of give the floor over to him and let him give his thoughts and kind of go through the material and give his feelings on the topic. So go ahead, Josiah.
Well, we have a good many biblical references here, which I've not looked at. So I think it would probably be a good idea if I could have a good place to start. Where exactly do you want me to start?
Yeah, if you had some scriptures that you had already considered using, that you had a path to follow, there's no way that we're going to get all these scriptures. In fact, just in reference to this, for the benefit of the folks watching, there's just so much on this topic. There's just no way to exhaust it. If after watching it you realize that there are particular passages that you think that just should have been in there, I'm going to agree with you. Going through there was just so many that I could have used. So
there's also many here, so it's possible that they're in here. We just won't get to them.
The way that this is set up is the characteristics of God, followed by how Jesus brings out those characteristics in himself, and how he emphasizes the importance of them, and then followed by the epistles, where the apostles emphasize how that we should take on those characteristics that are God's characteristics that Christ himself shared and demonstrated as an example, showing how we should ourselves portray God. Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm taking a lot of time, and I was wanting you to do this. But I would like to add, Satan wants to mess up this whole system of characteristics that we're going to talk about. Whatever he can do to cause us to trip up and to change, to be more like the animals, to take away our rationalization and our logic, to take away our devotion and commitment, the things that make us bear that image greatest. Whatever he can do to take that away is his objective, and we can tarnish and harm our image in this way by how we behave. We can affect it by making ourselves look mischievous. I think of the folks with the tattoos all over their faces. They pursue an animalistic type lifestyle, pursuing just the whims and the desires of their natural bodies. that whether it be for food or lust fulfillment or whatever, these are all characteristics that destroy that image of God that we should have in ourselves by the characteristics that we demonstrate. So we want to let you kind of take it from there and then see what you can do.
Well, as I scan over these first few verses, I see that a lot of these here are talking about qualities of God that we should fulfill, because there is a moral compass. And I just want to read, just starting with some verses. I want to read, this is going to be, I'll start with Psalms A6:15. But thou, O Lord, art a God full of compassion, gracious, long-suffering, and plenteous in mercy and truth. And I'm also going to read Psalms 103:8. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and plenteous in mercy. I think that we should follow this example, and I think that's it's another way that we can reflect God and His being in His image is following these attributes that are laid out. And that is, it's an example of how we can lose or increase our visible example of the image of God is by staying in line with some of these things that are laid out, and being full of compassion and gracious, long suffering, plenteous of mercy and truth. We should try to follow these because they reflect God and His nature.
Amen. And it's interesting that we're starting with God, and I like that you read a passage that I actually didn't have on the paper, so that means you did your own homework. I like that a lot.
Well, I think you gave this today.
Did I? I don't. It's not on mine, so I must have changed something. Anyway, I really like that. That we're looking at the fact that these are characteristics and attributes of God Himself, and we're made in His image. And if we're to bear that image, He would have us to share those same attributes and characteristics. And when you think of God from a worldly perspective, I mean, if you didn't know the Bible and you had to go off of, say, Hindu and Greek mythology, the idea of God, what kind of idea would you come across if you didn't have the Bible to go off of to know His characteristic and His personality? I mean, how would you imagine Him?
I think that a lot of people would probably think of it as sort of just, it's pretty easy to come to the conclusion that there is a creator of this world. But I do think that a lot of people would, like, there's obviously many examples of some strange ideas of God or gods, like the Greeks who the Greek gods were just nonsense. But
Yeah.
but there's also an idea that a lot of people come to today that God is sort of just a guy that sits on a chair at the edge of space who doesn't involve himself. He just kind of started everything and let it be.
That's true.
Those are two ideas that are really easy to come to. Is sort of, how do I put this? Bringing sort of thinking of gods as just humans with supernatural powers, or that God's not involved at all with the world.
I agree completely.
And as far as morally, usually, I mean, the only thing I can imagine as far as a moral compass on what's good and or wrong would simply just, I guess, be mental and physical capabilities. Like, I think that people that don't believe in God still believe that it's wrong to take someone's life because they, well, I guess I'm not exactly sure why. But I think it has to do with the mind. They put value on the mind. And so those are just some ideas, some things that came to my mind.
That's interesting. It seems like when I think of a worldly, naturalistic perspective on things, I think the leftist persuasion on things kind of carries that most of the time. And when I say leftist, I know that sounds real political, but when I say leftist, I'm talking about things that usually oppose the Bible, that go against what's commonly known as good and right, underneath the understanding that the Bible is the true standard. So anyway, um, typically the leftist perspective on what's right follows the line of what are people consenting for. And so no one is going to necessarily consent to death, but there are some exceptions. And you'll actually find, I think, I didn't think to look this up, but in that you bring this up and we're talking about it, a perfect example of this idea, the law of consenting, that I've just created this idea of the law of the consenting. It's okay so long as everyone is consenting that's involved. As if to say that which is good is the same thing as to say that which is nice. But just to say that it's nice doesn't mean that it's good. And just to say that everyone involved is consenting doesn't mean that it's okay and that it's right. There was a case somewhere in Europe, and I think it was in England. I don't know that it was in England. I just know that it was in Europe. There was a man who put out an ad, or at least I heard this, and anyway, it'd be interesting to know. Maybe while I'm putting up the video and editing it, I'll find this report and show it, whether it be there or not. But it was said that there was a man who put out an ad saying if anybody was willing to be eaten, cannibalistic now, to be killed and eaten, to come to such and such address. And anyway, he was arrested for killing the man and eating him. And after they arrested him, it was discovered that the other gentleman had consented to this activity. In Canada, if someone has a chronic illness and is in the path to death, if they meet certain requirements, they can have their life taken by choice. And because they consented to it, it makes it okay. And you have mothers that have children, and we've already touched on this, but the babies that are not born, we've talked about the value of that life. But because the mother is consenting, she can kill her child. Of course, in this situation, we can't ask the child what their opinion is. I guess they don't matter. But when you're looking at how does the world view consent, how does the world view what's right and wrong, it seems to be that they lean real heavy in the direction of if everybody involved is consented, it's okay.
Yeah, it's agreed upon and it's all right. Okay.
But in truth, God has standards and he has a particular rule of what's right. And I might say that begins with himself.
And he often leads by example.
He always leads by example. He is the standard itself. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to look at Exodus 33 when this is where we're probably going to end because it looks like our time is about spent. But do you remember when Moses was asking to see God, and he's up there on the mountain, and God realizes that his holiness is just so great that Moses, being a man, a sinful man at that, could not endure such an exposure to God. But he puts him in a cleft of a rock, and he put his hand, he kind of blocked so that he could pass in front of him, covered it. And then he let Moses behold what came after, to see his hinder parts. There was something in this that God expresses concerning himself that's quite telling. And I'm going to read this account. See if you can pick this up. And he said, this is Moses speaking in Exodus 33 and 18. And he said, I beseech thee, show me thy glory. And he said, that's God speaking, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee, and will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. And he said, thou canst not see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. And the Lord said, behold, there is a place by me, and thou shalt stand upon a rock. And it shall come to pass, while my glory passeth by, that I will put thee in a cleft of the rock, and I will cover thee. There's our timer. Okay, that's what I thought was going to happen. Will cover thee with my hand while I pass by thee, and I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen. Shall not be seen. That's where we're going to start reading. But in this description of God, he says, all my goodness. So he's described as goodness, having goodness, will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee, and will be gracious. So his graciousness is declared, and show mercy on whom I will show mercy. His mercy is declared here. Goodness, grace, and mercy. And there's more to be said. And God descended in the cloud. This is chapter 34 and verse 5. And God descended in the cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of the Lord. Listen to what he says. And the Lord passed by before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children's children, unto the third and to the fourth generation, showing he's a just God too. And we're going to conclude with that, but what we got a picture of is the characteristics of God, who he is, his goodness, his graciousness, his mercy, his long suffering, and how he's the embodiment of truth. And if we will pursue to put on the things that bear the image of God, these characteristics that are God, those are his character. That's what demonstrates his glory. We'll put those on ourselves as well. And we're going to have to conclude right there. As you can see, we just opened a real big can of worms. But our time is spent, and I'm so glad for the timer, because I think this is probably the best way to do it. I dropped my remote. That's quite all right. All right, till next time, stand for the truth.